Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for hanging with me on this Sunday. Now, cold water, wintertime fishing, a lot of your tackle box is going to be taken out of the equation. But as much as I want to just tell you that a jig, a crankbait, a spinnerbait, a chatterbait, if you're in a little colder water, jerkbait, Alabama rig, little swim bait is all you need, that's not the case. Now, you are going to take out a lot of your creature style baits. A lot of your Texas rig soft plastics are going to not work in the winter months. Some of them still are, so I'm going to give you all of those. And then the baits that are summertime baits aren't only summertime baits. Now, they're not wintertime baits, but that other 6 months out of the year, you're going to be in limbo. So I'm going to give you some key water temperatures that are going to make those baits that have pennages and kick when they fall come back to play for you guys. Very important. So guys, I want to first thank you. If you've subscribed to the channel, that helps the channel and me out a lot. If you like these videos, that's going to help the video out a lot. So thank you guys for doing that. And leave me a comment. I love to talk fishing because you got to have discussions on these type things. If you live down in Florida, below 60 degrees is where your fish go dormant. Really hard to bite. Timing is everything. As we're up here in Alabama, you get a little further north, 48 to 52 is kind of that dead zone where it seems like the fish are almost in a hibernation-like state. Super hard to catch. You got to make them react. So when I am fishing in super cold water, let's say I get on a cranking pattern or a spinnerbait pattern, 5 or 6 bites in a full day of fishing is status quo. So if there is a way where I can pick up 1 or 2 bites through the course of the entire day with a Texas rig or a jig, that's huge. Now, a jig being one of the most perplexing baits in your tackle box. There are days where they will bite a finesse jig better than a shaky head with a worm on it. There are days where they'll bite a 1 ounce black and blue jig better than they'll bite that 1/2 ounce Texas rig with a beaver on it. So on those days, the jig is all you need. That's rare. That doesn't always happen like that, and you still need some Texas rigs in colder water. So the first one being the tube. I like 4 inches and smaller anytime I'm tube fishing in cold water with a Texas rig. It's a pretty big profile as it is, so those smaller tubes are typically what I'm going to go with. Now, beavers are also a really good Texas rig in colder water. I just like the ones that have heavier plastic on the appendages. So when you look at some beavers where they kick when they fall, those are not the ones I'm going to use when that water's super cold. I want the Reaction Innovation Sweet Beaver, where that bait just glides, or maybe like a Strike King rodent. I don't want action when the bait falls. I want just a slow glide. Now, you can take that same principle if you are fishing a drop shot or a shaky head straight tail worm. You just want a slow spin, glide. You don't want anything kicking and moving, not when the water's so cold. Now, as the water warms up, we get up to 55 degrees. That's when the fishing is going to get considerably better. Everything in the water is going to become more active. I'm not yet going to go to those baits that kick and move a whole lot. I still like subtle baits when I'm fishing vertical, slow presentations on the bottom. So I'm still going to keep a jig in my hand. I'm still going to be going with the tube and the beaver. But once we get up into 58, that's when I really feel like kicking and moving is going to start to play. So like we said earlier, these baits that have been kind of deemed summertime baits, they really start to work in that early springtime period right before the fish start to spawn. So 58 degrees, you really have the best of both worlds. You're going to have fish that are pushing up shallow and they're starting to get in a spawning mode. So they're kind of the last little trail of pre-spawn fish. They're shallow, they're around a lot of targets, and they're active. So baits that are kicking and moving will get their attention a little bit better. It's also a very natural presentation. They're feeding on crayfish. A lot of those baits that we're talking about are imitating bait fish. So if you look in that thumbnail, that is a Strike King Rage Craw. That is one of my favorite jig trailers if I'm swimming a jig, but also flipping around targets on a Texas rig. Go anywhere from like a 1/4 to a 1/2 ounce weight, depending on how deep you're fishing, what kind of cover. So try that, guys. Good luck to you, and I'll see you on the water.